Okay, right. So in the last session, we checked out the predefined properties. Okay, SQL, mm, SQL code and SQL ERRM, how we are using. Okay, and the next one is guys here. Okay, now so predefined exceptions we checked out. Okay, how these predefined exceptions I want to use the related exceptions whenever you want to handle. Okay, so same as your user defined exceptions also we want to create. So own So user will create its own exception name. Then it is called as a user defined exception record. Okay. So user defined exceptions are nothing but, so we create when we create our own exceptions, our own exception name, our own exception name, and and rise and rise. Okay, and rise exception, rise exception explicitly, and rise exception explicitly. Explicitly whenever it required, whenever it whenever it required. Okay, so user defined exceptions are simply we call as, okay, when we created our own exception name and rise exception. Okay, we are rising exception explicitly. So then it is called as a user defined exceptions record. Then it is called user defined exceptions. But whenever user defined exception, when you created guys here, okay, so there are few steps we have it here. Okay, that's step one. So first I need to declare user defined exception name, and how to declare your user defined exception here also. So you just pass your, okay, user defined exception name with your exception statement. So exception is my predefined statement. By using of this exception statement, I want to create my user defined exception name. Okay, this is what. And the second one is called as guys here, rise user defined exception. Rise user defined exception. So how we want to rise user defined exception means here we have a statement like rise. Okay, the rise statement I'm using. After that, you have to pass your user defined exception name. And later step number 3. So handling user defined exception name. So here my syntax was here. So we know exception block, we need to start exception statement. And when okay, right. So these are guys here, the 3 steps. Guys, 1 second. Okay, right. So these are the three steps here to declaration of user defined exception name. And after declaration of user defined exception, so that exception I need to rise. Okay, and after that we want to handle your exceptions. Okay, right. For example, for example, now we can take it here. So one small program we are writing here. Okay, X and Y and Z. So these are the three variables I declared, and along with variables, I'm declaring my user-defined exception name also. So EX, and we're passing exception. This is the user-defined exception name. So any name you can give it as your wish. Okay, now. So whatever the name, you can give it, no problem. So I was given EX is my exception name, and exception is a predefined statement to create your exception name. Okay, now. So now after that, so declaration is over. Then you have to go for execution block, and Y is equals to ampersand of Y. And after here I'm writing one condition like if Y is equals to 0. Suppose Y is equals to 0, then immediately I need to write my exception guys. So what is my exception name? EX. Okay, now. So when Y is equals to 0, suppose user is entered Y is equals to 0. Then we can use what now? Then we need to raise our exception. So my exception name is EX. Okay, and after that, suppose if Y is not equal to 0, then it will go to else part. In else, what I want to do, guys, here I'm giving some operation. So Z is equals to X by Y. Z is equals to X by Y. And now I'm writing so dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of okay, now fine. And after that, we need to end my if statement. Okay, so after your if statement, then we need to write some exception block. So exception block, and when here I want to write or use my exception name. But what is my exception name here? So that's user which. So user whatever you was created and whatever the name was created for exceptions purpose. So that name you can use. Generally, in this place, previously what we used guys here, user defined exceptions are we use. Sorry, predefined exception names are we used. Yes or no? Predefined exception name we used in the previously. Okay. So now instead of predefined exception name, okay, we are using our own exception name in our exception block. Okay, to handle the exception which was raised in the program. Okay. So now exception and as usual, the dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of. So now I'm passing here what we can say. So some user friendly message second number, okay, not be 0. And finally end here and to close. So now we can see the x value. Okay, I'm going to enter some value and the y value is 5. So what happened? This y value, whatever you entered, that will be checking with your condition y is equals to 0. But unfortunately, the condition will not be okay. It's not true. So y is equals to, I was sending here that 5, but y is equals to 0. So condition what it was, guys, here, condition not a true. So condition is a false. Okay, condition is a false. So condition is a false, then false means it was going to be enter into else part. So else part operation is going to be executed, guys, because my y is equals to 0 condition is false. Okay, now it was executed what it was here, the next part here, z, and end if and exception. Okay, so now when enter into else part what it was given, z is equals to 10 by 5. So operation will be do it here, and the result will be displaying on the screen. So display. Okay, so displayed here. Okay, fine. So now 10 by here, okay, fine. But the next level, suppose x is equals to 10 and y is equals to 0. So y is equals to 0 when I was entered, then it will go to y is equals to 0. Then condition will be true. When condition true means the true block statement will be executed here. The true block statement is what now? Rising exception. Rise your EX. So y is equals to 0, immediately it will be rising your exception. And whatever the exception is raised here, that exception immediately we are going to be handling. Immediately we are going to be handling. Okay. Now? So whatever the exception is raised here. Okay. So whatever the exception is applied here, y is equal to 0, then immediately exception will be rising. And which exception is raised? That exception immediately we are handling by using of the exception block, and this will be handled. So exe. So here whatever the exception is rising here, so that was immediately we are handling here, and we are passing the statement is called as second number should not be 0. Okay, now so that means rise statement rising your exception, and that exception we are immediately immediately we are handling, guys, here. Okay, now immediately we are handling. So that's why, okay, when I go to enter my y is equal to 0, it was showing second number it now should not be 0, and Plsql procedure is successfully complete. Okay, now understanding now. So this is what we called as, guys, here. Okay, uh, user defined exception name, how I want to create and how I want to rise and how we want to handle. So declaration, rising, and also handling. So our own way, that means we are rising our exception as per given condition, we are rising our exception and we are handling our exception. So rising by user, handling by user. Okay, so these are the user defined exceptions, how to create and how we can use it in our programs. Okay, now these are the 3 steps always keep in your mind. Okay, now these are the 3 steps you always remember. So okay, fine, these are the program. Okay, this is my program to create your user defined exceptions. Okay, right. But here one more statement was there, guys, here. The next statement is nothing but what now? Rise underscore application underscore error. So this function is having the 2 arguments. It's called a number argument, and the next one is called as a message argument. Okay, this is another method we have here to raise your exception. Okay, this is another method we have here to raise your exceptions. Okay, but sir, here already we have a method to raise your exception. Yes, sir. So we are raising user defined exception by using of a rise method or rise statement. Okay, we are using rise statement. But why we want to use again this method? Why we want to use again this method when we have a rise statement to raise your exceptions? We have a rise statement already there. Then why we are using again rise underscore application underscore error? Okay, and what is the differences between rise statement and rise underscore application underscore error statement? Difference is what? Okay, let me see, guys. So basically, this method is called as it's a predefined method, guys. Okay, it is called as it is a predefined method. Okay, and this method we are using for to it is used to display the information about an exception which was which was raised in which was raised in PLSQL block which was raised in PLSQL block. Okay, in the format in the format okay in the form of otherwise in the form of in the form of Oracle in the form of Oracle. Okay, in the form of Oracle database, Oracle database, or Oracle server format. Okay, now. So here, what it was happen, guys? Here, carefully observe. So this is one predefined method, and to displaying the information about an exception. Okay, displaying information about an exception. So which was raised in PLSQL block. That means in your PLSQL program, which exception was rising in your PLSQL program. So that exception information will be displaying. But whatever the information will be displayed here, that information in which format it will be displayed means it will be displayed in Oracle format. So we all of you identify in the previous examples, Oracle is having some format. So in that particular format, your Oracle database will be written your exceptions. Okay, na? Oracle database server will return your exception in a particular format. Okay, na? So the which format Oracle will display the exception information to the users or in your application. In the same format, I want to display exception information, okay, by using of rise underscore application underscore error. Okay, now, all right. But this is what, and this method is having the two arguments I said. One is a number argument, one is a message argument. So what is number and what is message, sir? Okay. So here number argument is going to be written, guys, here. Okay, it's written exception number. So can you remember every exception is having a number? So what are minus 0, 1, 001. So like you identify in the predefined exception names. Okay, if you see that, so every exception, okay, name or exception message, whatever the exception error message is coming out, for every exception error message through, some number also written by Oracle. Some number also written by Oracle. So how the Oracle will be returning some number along with your exception message, same to same. Suppose user has to give its own number, okay, for the exception error message. Okay, so that means here whatever the number argument is there, this number argument will be returning exception number. Okay, but this exception number, okay, this exception number, okay, this exception so this exception number must be in between. So that means this is user defined exception I said now. So that's why this number must be minus 20001 to minus 20999. Okay. So in between any number you can assign for your exception message. And this is 20,001 to 20,999. So in between any number, I can assign to my exception error message. For my exception purpose, I can assign in between any number I can assign as my wish. That means user defined number we are passing here. So previously what happened? System, that means your Oracle having a predefined exception name, like a no data found exception. Okay, now too many rows exception. Okay, zero underscore divide exceptions, cursor already open exception, invalid cursor exception. So these kind of exception names are predefined exception names. And for every predefined exception name is having some number. Yes or no? So that numbers also we checked out. So here also, I want to give my own number. So that means here Oracle is not providing any number. So user has to give its own number, but the number should be minus 20,001 to minus 20,999. Okay, in between any number you can use. Okay, so that is number argument types here. And the next one is called as a message argument. So what is message argument means? Yeah, here simply it written, okay, it written user defined, it written user defined error message. So whatever the user was given some user friendly error messages, so that messages I can pass in my message argument and that will be written. So here user defined message will be give it, and that user defined message purpose user is assigning some number. Understanding now? So this is what now guys here rise underscore application underscore error method information. Okay, right. But guys here, when we ask, so already we have a, okay, already we have a rise statement, already we have it. Then why we want to use the rise underscore, okay, why we want to use the rise underscore application underscore error? Suppose somebody is asking. These are the two rising methods, okay? These are the two rising methods. First one, rise statement. Second one is rise application error method. So what is the differences between these two? If anybody asks you, okay, the differences here, what now? Observe. Rise method, what it will do guys here, okay, rise method, what it will do, it will, it will rise an exception, it will rise an exception, and also handling, and also handling an exception. Point understanding now? Okay, so this is the statement, rise statement, what it will do guys here, it will be rising an exception in your program, and same as and also handling that exception. Okay, now handling that exception. So rising and also handling. Okay, now so that is rise statement nature. But rise underscore application underscore error, this is what purpose we are using means it will rise an exception. Okay, it will raise an exception. Okay, but not handling an exception, but not handling an exception. Okay, now? So the difference understand now. So rise statement exception is rising and also handling, but the rise application error statement is only for rising purpose, but it cannot handling your exception. Okay, only rise purpose, but it cannot handle your exception. So now we are asking question, sir, why? What is the use of only rising your exception? Why not handle? Okay, now but then what is the use of this? Means yes, definitely. So the type of doubt is coming out. So here, rise application error is important for us whenever you want to restrictions time. That means if you want to restrict your data or operations, okay, while suppose a user is inserting some data, at the time I need to restrict the data. Okay, I need to restrict the data. So at that moment, how we can restrict it in our PLSQL? So like updation level, deletion level, creating table level, dropping table level, altering levels. So in these levels, okay, if I want to stop or else I want to restrict my operations, which I don't want to allow to perform on my database tables. Okay, now, so at the time, this rise application error will be help us. It will be help us. Okay, so at that moment, we required only for rising purpose. So that means exception will rise purpose only we want it, but it cannot, we don't want to handle. So in that cases, the whatever I said, the restrictions of data, stopping of your operations on your tables or etc. So in that levels, this statement will be very, very helpful us. Very, very help us. Okay. But how, sir? How it means in coming classes, you can understand, guys. Here, I will use this one, the programs, and there you can understand why it is only rising, why not handling. Okay, now right. But here the definition of this, the two statement differences means this is the statement. Okay, now right. Okay, so now these are the differences between rise and rise application error statements. Now let me see. I'm going to take one example. The same example I'm taking that. So this example I will take as it is. So up to here I will take it. Up to here I will take this. Okay, and in this okay handling level I'm using rise underscore application underscore error of okay error of some number, so my wish, so minus 20457 something number. Okay, na? This is my number I was given, use a different number, and the message also I was given my own message here. So second number not zero, so any user friendly message. Okay, so by the help of this rise application error, what it will do, I am passing some number, my user defined number and user defined message. Okay, right. And now I need to end and close. Now you can see I'm going to enter by 10 by 5. So it was successfully executed. But when I was entered 10 by 0, then what happened? You can see 10 by 0 means what now? The condition true. And immediately have to rise here. Okay, I'm rising. Exception is rising. But when I come to exception block to handling purpose, rise application error, what it will do? This statement will not be handling. Okay, this method, what it will do? Your exception will not be handled. That means it will be stopping your exception, but not handling. Okay, with just a rising purpose, leave it. Whatever the exception is raised here, that rising exception information is displayed, but it is not handling. Okay, now let me see carefully. Okay. So this is error is rise. That means exception is rise here. Okay, what is my number? Can you see my number? My own number I was given minus 20457. Here also take or dash minus 20457. This is my own number. Okay, user defined number and user defined message. User defined number and user defined message. Okay, then the next one is what now? This is a line number. Okay, at which line your exception is occurred, at which line your exception will be okay will not be handled means year 17. 17 means year. So here in this level, so that means exactly this statement. The statement will be stop your handling exception. The statement is stop your handling exception, and it will be showing message. So the problem is the 17th line. So 17th line, there my problem. That means your exception is not handling. Rise underscore application underscore error method, what it will do? It will be stopping your exception and that not be handled. Okay, now whatever exception is raised here, that will be as it is keeping, but it is not handling by your rise underscore application underscore error. Okay, so that's why my program is not executing. My program is not executing. My program return some result or output. Sorry, no result. It was returning some error. So error is there. So that means what you understand, guys, here, my exception is a handle or not handle. What do you think? Exception is handle or not handle by seeing of this error? Yes, it is not handle. So error only there. It is not handle. So this is the difference of a rise and rise statement and rise application error statement. Okay, na? So rise statement handling, but rise underscore application is not handling. As it is, your exception will be rising but not handling. Okay, right. So this is rise underscore application underscore error. But how and why and what is the user? In coming classes, I will show you. Okay, how this will be helping us. Okay, right. So these are the two methods, rise and rise application error. Okay, right. And the next one, guys, here, observe. These all examples, if you want to identify carefully, these all examples, whatever the previous and now, these all examples, what happened, guys, here. The exceptions are rising under execution block. This is actually execution block. Okay, this is actually execution block. So previous all examples and the any example up to now, whatever the examples we discuss, in every example you can see your exception in which block it was raised. Means there are three blocks now: declaration block, execution block, exception block. So exception block is leave it because that is handling purpose we are using. Okay now, but the remaining two blocks are there: declaration and execution. But now tell me, guys, here, as of now, whatever the exceptions are occurred, like a no data found exception, too many rows exception, zero underscore divide exception, okay, now whatever the remaining invalid cursor exception, whatever it is, these exceptions are occurred in which block, guys? These exceptions are occurred in declaration block or execution block. Come on, tell me. In declaration or execution, what you identify in the programs, in declaration block or execution block, where it will be raised. If you see all the programs, come on, guys, where you expected your exception is rising, execution blocker or declaration blocker? Okay, right. Yes, we are going to be identified every exception, whatever it was occurred. That exception was occurred at the execution block only. It was occurred. Okay, no? Right. Suppose sometimes what it was happened guys here. Okay, sometimes what happened? Sometimes what happened here? Suppose as of now, whatever exception will be raised here, that exception raised into execution block. So that execution block exceptions are how to handle. Okay, how to handle as of now we discuss. How to handling as of now we discuss. So we are using some exception block and there the related exception name I'm using. Okay. Okay, this is what happened. Okay, but my question is, suppose your exception will be okay, raised. For example, exception will be raised into declaration block. Okay, into declaration block. So when your exception is occurred in declaration block, then how to handle those exceptions? Understand, guys, my question. So what I'm asking, suppose in case your exception is occurred in declaration block, then how those exceptions are we are handling? How those exceptions are we are handling? So my question, all of you understand? Say yes or no. Okay, na? Right. So this is the mechanism, guys. Okay. Generally, exceptions are occurred in execution block. So execution block exceptions are we are handling. Okay. So now, but same thing in the declaration block, if it was occurred, then how we can handling those declaration block exceptions. Okay, na? So that mechanism is how it was. That mechanism was how it was. Okay, na? So that we will discuss, guys, the tomorrow session because I'm not well. Okay, that tomorrow we will go to continue that example. Okay, so this part will continue on tomorrow's session. Okay, na? Okay, right, guys, and I stop it here. We'll continue tomorrow. Right, guys. Thank you.